Good morning. 6:30 a.m. -1. Clear skies. You can't see that. Yep. So I'm just doing the final load up. See, I've put the wet weather gear on. Wow, that was a chore last night to get that stretched over and onto those. But once it's on, it looks it looks about as good as it's going to get. Getting in and out is extremely challenging. I'm not the most flexible, about 6'1" 2, and the IVA steering wheel doesn't come off, so real chore to get off. I'll save you from the YouTube cliche video of me getting in, even though I did video it last night. I don't know, maybe we'll include that, we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to head over to Beverley now, go get some fuel. Steady ride over, hopefully arrive in plenty of time, and then brim the tank just around the corner from the IVA station and see what happens. Wish me luck. Alrighty, so on to voiceover again. As you can see, I put a GoPro in the car. It was a bit of a fail, really. I mean, it was pitch black outside in a car not famed for its headlights, I guess, but it's marginally better than staring at a blank screen or a load of photographs while I talk things through. So I was just under an hour away from the IVA station. Bit of motorway, bit of back roads. Obviously, for a lot of people, I guess the drive to the IVA is like literally the first mileage they do on their kit cars, which must be pretty scary. But the fact that I'd at least taken this round Brands a few times meant that I was somewhat confident that it wouldn't fall to bits and spew fuel everywhere or whatever. So I was pretty chilled out about it. It was very, very, very cold. This was just following the weekend where the UK had a bunch of snow, and I was luckily it thawed out on the roads, but you'll sort of can still see it at the side of the road where it's been ploughed away or whatever. Very frosty. But the Caterham on the Academy tyres didn't cause me any problems at all. Visibility was also really good. After an initial kind of wipe down of the windscreen with the microfiber cloth when I set off, the heated screen did its job after that. There was no fogging up, which is crazy really, considering there was 6 foot of me huffing and panting away in what was effectively a tent. It was pretty cold though. I've heard like people say Caterhams are plenty warm enough without a heater in once you've got the roof on, but it was fucking freezing. Probably not helped by the fact it was, I don't know, -3 or 4 outside, and I didn't really get the car particularly warm. I was cruising on tick over for most of it, I guess. So I got some fuel close to my house, as you just saw on the photo. Braved the M62 to get over to Beverley, and then I stopped for fuel one more time just around the corner from the IVA station, and I used this second fuel stop to also take the roof off. You're not really supposed to test the car with the wet weather gear or the doors on, because none of that is kind of IVA compliant. We actually left the doors on as it happened. The examiner just said straight away, look, I get it, and I understand the doors are not compliant, but there's no point in taking them off just to refit them again, which was a really early sign of just how pragmatic and nice to work with this guy would be. Obviously I wasn't able to video inside. I don't think I would have wanted to anyway. The examiner was really, really open to discussing what he was doing, kind of the history of the test, the sorts of cars that he's tested over the years. Really, really, really interesting guy. In fact, I found the whole process massively interesting. So for the test itself, once I arrived, pulled out in a big marked out lane, labelled as the SVA lane, and just as I was about to kind of get out the car and figure out where to go, the big shutter doors rolled open, and a couple of chaps were waiting for me inside. So I drove the car straight inside and got on with the test straight away. I was a little bit self-conscious about the amount of junk I'd brought with me. I suddenly found myself quite embarrassed at the passenger seat and the boot, and there was just crap piled up everywhere. but they really just didn't care. They just said, look, don't worry about it, we'll clear that out when we need to get into the interior to inspect that. And how the test worked really is it was just one long lane inside this industrial unit, and the car just slowly moved forward through the lane, each time stopping for a different part of the test. So it was kind of visual inspections first, checking for all of the sharp edges, checking for the interior clearances and all that kind of stuff. Then we pushed forward onto a 4-poster ramp. I stayed in the car at that point to actuate the brakes and the handbrake and things like that while it was being inspected from underneath. Then we did emissions, which is just the same as an MOT test really. Then we pushed forward onto the brake rollers. And again, I'm kind of skipping through this because I couldn't video while I was in there. So yeah, just kind of have to give a really quick talk through of it. The brake rollers is the part that I think catches most Caterhams out. They've been driven on brand new brakes, brand new tyres, maybe they've not bedded in quite evenly yet, and they can fail on something silly like the rears locking up before the fronts and things like that. As it happens, I had no problems with this car, again probably thanks to the Brands Day. We did find a potential clue as to the source of the noise at Brands. The rear offside disc was showing evidence that the pad hadn't been making full contact. The examiner was a little bit concerned that might impact the bias tests, but it didn't. It passed with flying colours. So I need to keep an eye on that as I get more miles on the car and bed that in. Maybe that's something that I need to tweak. The test is allocated 4 hours. I think we barely used 2, and we did a lot of talking in those 2 hours. Really friendly process, the whole thing end to end. And for the final part of the test, the examiner drives the car outdoors around the car park, and then there's a bunch of sight lines. Well, there's a bunch of sight lines drawn on the car park, and you park in a specific spot, and the examiner needs to make sure that he can see the appropriate sight lines through the mirrors, and he can adjust the mirrors from where he's in the seating position and things like that. Oh, and then there's a noise test, which is no stranger to anybody that's done a track day or two before. So at this point, even though I'm getting all the right noises from the examiner, you don't actually know whether you've passed or failed, because the calculations for all of the brake tests, they need taking away. So the examiner takes that all away on a piece of paper and plugs it into a spreadsheet to come out with the results. The instructor definitely was fond of the Caterham platform. They have to test a lot of kit cars, and he wasn't being rude to other kit car options that are out there. But instantly, when he acknowledged it was a Caterham, he was kind of like he knew what parts would pass, what he needed to check for. And he was very complimentary of the platform. This guy's been testing cars for years and years and years. He says he very rarely has problems with Caterhams. So a couple of photos here just showing inside. You see the car sticking up there for the test, and you can kind of tell the length of the lane there, pushing through all of the stages. The brake rollers here. One kind of funny moment is I didn't fit the bonnet catches to the car, and these little rubber caps that cover over the bonnet clips and springs and what have you. Because I was convinced they were going to fall off the car. So what my plan was to put them in my pocket and fit them as soon as I arrived, which I totally forgot about. And then kind of halfway through the test, I remembered and panicked, thinking, "Oh God, has he marked me down for the lack of these clips?" So I got them out of my pocket. My cold hands sort of fumbled, and they went to go put them on this wall. One of them sort of bounced along the wall and fell down this crack, never to be seen again. It didn't seem to cause me a problem, but it was quite an entertaining moment. Not supposed to video in here, but I've passed my IVA. Full debrief to come, but dead happy. Touch you all soon. So there we go, leaving the test centre, pretty happy with myself. There wasn't really that much suspense when the chap went off. Although he couldn't tell me if the car passed or failed, he was fairly confident with how the car behaved on the rollers. Said it has to be pretty badly balanced to cause a problem. Yeah, sure enough, he came back after 10 minutes or so with a certificate, which is great news. I'm pretty chuffed with myself for not letting nerves and stuff get to me. I was kind of dreading this day all the way through the build process, but when it came to it, it wasn't a big deal at all. And I think that a big part of that was down to the attitude of the chap who was examining the car. I'm not saying he was lenient or anything, but you just got the feeling that he wanted the car to pass. And if there would have been anything silly that we could have resolved, again, I don't know because this didn't come up, but I just imagine I would have been afforded the opportunity to do so. I don't think he certainly wouldn't have passed an unsafe car. He definitely was very good at his job. He was very particular and inspected all the things I expected, but at no point did he make the process feel stressful. So the drive home was pretty good. As you see, I left the wet weather gear off. I was kind of doing a little bit of commentary as I was driving, but the GoPro setup and the wind noise just was nowhere near up for it. If I want to do that kind of thing in future, I think I'm going to have to look at some sort of external mic for the GoPro. So I might look into that, who knows. Not sure how relevant it'll be, because I think most of my running in this car will have a helmet on. But yeah, the drive home was fun, if not freezing cold. The car was an absolute pleasure to drive, even on the icy roads. Felt perfectly safe, way safer than driving a Lotus on semi-slick tyres, obviously. And yeah, got it home, washed the car off, got all the salt off, sort of all the grit and the salt and the muck off the wishbones, which had been lathered up with like ACF 50 and stuff. But pretty pleased, backed the car back into the garage and called it a day. Welcome back. IVA debrief video. IVA was yesterday, as you've heard by now probably. It was a pass, which dead excited about. Brought the car home pretty much as the crow flies, didn't mess around. It was pretty cold, pretty icy on the roads. Gave the car a good clean. I had kind of lathered the chassis with ACF 50, like a corrosion blocker, because obviously there's loads of salt on the road. So just kind of jet washed that all off, gave it a good scrub. So she kind of looks as she did. So this is pretty exciting now. I've got a load of paperwork to do to get off to the DVLA to get it road registered. I think that could take a few weeks, but no real rush. I'm not in a hurry to drive this car on the road, to be honest. But the thing I'm mainly excited about is starting to get all of the race car bits bolted on. So I need to get organised. The next video will be probably an inventory and a plan of everything I've got to do. Still a few bits to arrive, which will be arriving in the next couple of days. And then we can start getting it race car ready. Exciting stuff.